People often ask me, is it too late to become my own banker? For 95% of those I speak with, the answer is a resounding no. It's never too late to improve your health, to nurture relationships, to repair relationships, to deepen your spirituality. It's never late to learn a new skill, a new language, a new passion, painting, playing a guitar. It's never too late to optimize your finances. How exciting is that? Like right there, I'm giving you permission in the first 30 seconds. When we begin to control our money, when we begin the banking journey or creating the business of becoming our own banker, we focus not on the cost of insurance or your age or even the death benefit, but on empowering you to regain control over the banking function in your life. Let's dive into this together. So I talk about this all the time. We always keep this simple here. I believe if someone's using jargon in whatever their area of expertise is, then they're there to really confound us, confuse us, and lead us down a path where we're giving up control. It's like the news. You turn on the news, you feel horrible about humanity. But the reality is that we live in the safest, probably the most abundant times in human history. All the things that are happening that we see have been happening forever. We're just seeing more of it. So when I look at the two businesses we all need to be in, you guys pop this in the chat too. If the two businesses we all need to be in, what are they? There's the one that is imperative, the first one. The first business that every single American that lives in a capitalist society wants to be in, needs to be in, is what? Is the business of making money. And the first step is to excel at generating more income than you spend. I know a lot of people, and tell me if you guys know these people, in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, even maybe in their 50s, that spend the money to drive nice, fancy new vehicles. They eat at nice restaurants, they go on vacations, they post everything on social media, and their life looks awesome. But then when we peel back the curtain, they have very little to show as far as cash flow, as far as money. And it's because they're busy keeping up with the Joneses. They're not practicing Parkinson's principle. They're not beating the principle. The more money they earn, the more money they're spending. So it is that simple discipline, that habit of discipline, of understanding that we have to go ahead and be willing to give up a little bit now to get more in the future. We have to follow the timeless principles outlined in The Richest Man of Babylon, which is what? It is pay yourself first. I talk about this almost every week. Every week we talk about the commandments, the first two commandments. Number one, love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul. Number two, right? Love thy neighbor like thyself. So that means in numerical order, you guys haven't heard it like this: one, God; two, self; three, neighbor. All those folks I just mentioned, they're going 1, 3, 2. Write that down. 1, 3, 2. And all I'm offering you is to change the one thing. To make this simple philosophy work, we have to just change one thing in our life. Where does our surplus money go? How do we have surplus money? We make more than we spend. You see how simple this is? It's almost laughable how easy this is. Like, I taught this to third graders. So I know that all of you guys that are intending can get this. In The Richest Man in Babylon, the principle that the wealthiest families have been practicing for generations is they prioritize their financial growth over paying others first. You know, most millionaires are driving Fords, like Ford 150s, I heard, right? I haven't checked that, fact check that. So you guys can call me on that if that's not true, but that's what I've been told by one of my friends who's very wealthy. And once we establish this first principle of making more than we spend, then we can go into our second venture. I'm going to tie this all into football here in a moment, which is where we started the conversation, but it's becoming your own banker. And this powerful strategy allows you to earn interest rather than pay it. And that is a 35 cents of every dollar improvement in our life, a 35% increase. Imagine making 35% more in your business, 35 more percent in your job. Whatever you're making today, you make $100,000. Now you're making 135,000. You guys want that? Can I get a yes in the chat if you guys want a 35 cent of every dollar raise? Would you be excited about that? This powerful strategy, it's going to allow you to earn that interest I'm talking about. And it's going to enhance your family's financial well-being. It's going to reclaim control over what? Over the banking function in your life. We're just changing the one thing. So let's tie this into football, right? We talked about, is it too late? I get asked that question all the time. Is it too late for me to start infinite banking? And I'm going to share some of the stories that I experienced and having conversations with over 2,500 individuals, just like you guys. And we're going to show you how these simple money principles can be stacked like habits, like atomic habits, right? Every time we build a little micro habit, we might practice like, okay, this month I'm going to get up and see the sunrise, right? Great principle. It'll help your circadian rhythm. It'll help you sleep better. Next month, I'm going to start drinking 100 ounces of water a day or a gallon of water a day. The following month, I'm going to commit to walking a mile a day. And you start stacking the habits. It's the same with our money principles, right? First, we're going to make more money than we spend, and we're going to track it. We're going to keep track of it. We're going to financially weigh in. And then next, we're going to start building a system, because now that we've been making more than we spend, now we're paying ourselves. We're practicing what's taught in The Richest Man of Babylon, right? Pay ourselves 10% or more, and we're going to put it into our own privatized banking system. And then this is going to give us more control. We're not going to need to ask others permission we don't have to jump through hoops and fill out paperwork and give blood and samples and all the other things to borrow money, because it's going to be coming from our system. And when we look at the game of football, it's no different than the game of finances. You know, infinite banking is a financial strategy that utilizes specially engineered whole life, cash rich whole life to build wealth and achieve financial independence. And this approach parallels football, where players strategize and execute plays to achieve victory, right? I show a bunch of old guys, young guys, men running on the field. I mean, women playing football now too with flag football. And so this is something, when we look at it in comparison, am I too old to start infinite banking? Well, let's look at the journey and parallel it to football. Again, tonight, the NFL kicks off, right? The Chiefs versus the Ravens. So whoever you're rooting for, it's okay by me. It's not the Niners. But think about this for a moment. When you watch the game, if you watch the game, how many NFL players out of the whole world are actually on that field starting? Like, what's the percentage? Like, it'll just take, how many Division I college football players are there? Do you guys know? There's about 16,000 draft eligible Division I college football players coming out for the draft every year. And out of that, 1.6% are drafted. And then a small percentage of that get to play. So think how many games and how much training and how many practices, reps, recoveries, injuries the starting players that you see tonight have taken to make it to that level. And so even if you're not a sports fan, just think about the dedication, the persistence, the consistency, the confidence they must have. What if we treated our money that same way? What if, like, as our kids are born and they're 15 days old, guess what? You can buy them a specially engineered whole life policy at that point. Could you imagine starting your kids at a young age? This is a passion of mine. This is something I'm teaching our son, both of our sons. One is getting to see it a little bit more in detail because we're using it to pay for our family vacations right now. By the time he's driving age, we'll be able to buy his car through the policy. By the time he's my age, he'll have over $1 million of cash value in his policy. Imagine anywhere from 15 days old to the time our kids leave and go become independents, which is what we all want as parents. We're not raising adult children. We're raising adults, right? Can I get an amen from the parents? We're raising adults. And so imagine when they're playing football at a young age, imagine the teamwork that they're building, the self-confidence that they're building, the skills they're building, the physical confidence. All the different confidences is no different than infinite banking. So if we're starting, remember, most of our kids, 15 days old, a couple months, a couple of years, they have no idea what football is. They have no idea there's a game. This is the same with the financial lives that we're living. Our early years, we don't really understand. We just think things are fun. We want to do the things that feel good, that make us laugh, and we're testing boundaries. Imagine learning these principles that I teach you guys every week here at that age. Wow, that would be crazy. That would be amazing. I can't even imagine if it was having these kind of conversations with my parents growing up. My parents taught me a lot of wonderful things. I'm super grateful for them. They taught me how to show up first, how to leave last, how to work hard, how to be humble, how to do my best, always, how to be polite. Guess what? That makes for a really good employee, but it has nothing to do with having financial sense. So imagine harnessing the power of compound interest from the beginning. We hear Einstein or Einstein's quote as having said, this is the eighth wonder of the world, compounding interest. Well, yes, by the time, I'm not showing you the policy today, but another training will go through it. But Connor, like by the time I put $400,000 over the first 40 years into his policy, he'll have over $1 million that's available. So today, how many of those rookies, remember the 1.6% out of the 16,000 eligible, after the whole lifetime of preparing to be eligible, how many of those players that were drafted start tonight, right? There's 32 teams. We're going to call 11 people on each side starting, right? 11 offense, 11 defense. So 22 players per team, 704 players starting this week in football. How many are rookies? Can I get a guess in the chat? Could you guys tell me how many you think are going to be rookies? No, no guesses? There's going to be about, let me tell you, about 50. On average, there you go. John said 10%. That'd be a lot, right? That'd be a lot. That'd be 70. So you're pretty close. There's going to be 50. 50 are rookies that are going to be coming in whatever round of the draft, first, second, third, sixth, right? Tom Brady, sixth. We all know that story. Brock Purdy, last one drafted, starting, right? So, and what are the rest doing? Are the rest just like sitting around doing nothing? No, they're apprenticing. They're learning the craft. They're behind a veteran. They're modeling success by watching and getting ready for their moment. They're preparing for their moment. So this is our 20s. This is our 30s. This is that first quarter is laying that financial foundation. When we're learning, observing, developing the essential financial habits, you know, whether someone at this time, they're in school, you know, if they're a doctor, maybe they're extending school, or they're an attorney, they're starting a career, they're learning a trade. This phase is crucial for establishing good financial practices. If we didn't start in our 15 months to the time that we were actually independent, well, then we're going to start in our 20s or 30s. It's not too late. We still have the whole game in front of us. So again, it's going to come back to just changing one thing. Where does our surplus money go first? It's going to come back to that first thing, that we have to make more money than we spend. And when we make more money than we spend, what do we have to do with it? We have to put it somewhere where it's protected, where it's growing uninterrupted, compounding interest, where it can be earning us dividends, where it's protected against liens and judgment, where it's doing all of the most optimal things for our lives. And we have control over it, right? You guys like the sound of that? And like Angela, yes, you could start this for your grandson. That's exactly what we're talking about. It's never too early or too late. And I'm going through the different quarters. So again, it comes back to developing discipline, setting a strong foundation, having the good habits, the good stacking of micro habits, and it's going to pay dividends throughout your lifetime. So this is our first quarter. This is our 20s, maybe our 30s. And then we got our second quarter, which is going to be continuing building that wealth, building that foundation. We are just stacking that foundation, and it grows larger and gets more efficient with time. And so whether we've started at an early age, like my son has, and now in his 30s and 40s, I'm so excited to know that he'll have the skill set already. He's not going to wait till he's 46 like I did. But I learned about this in my 40s. So I learned about this in the second quarter of life, right? In the second quarter compared to football. And it gave me confidence. I understood how to make money, but I didn't have control of that money. Other people did. I was putting it in places and trusting other people who would tell me every year, hey, Jason, do you want to take on more risk? What does that mean? Hey, Jason, do you want to work another 10 years? No, not doing this. This isn't my passion. I'm trading time for money. That is not the best use of our most valuable asset, which is our time, our attention, our energy. And you guys are incredible. You're all here giving your energy. You're learning this. So remember, in our 30s and 40s, we're already starting to understand, what are we passionate about? What do we love? Who are we as people? Are we people? Are we people who want to deal with technology and building standard operating procedures? What are we, artists? What is our passion? Where do we add the most value? Now that you have that confidence in yourself and you have confidence in your building your financial foundation, if you haven't started yet, it's not too late. You just have to reprioritize. Remember, we have 1, 3, 2. That is what 97% of Americans are doing. And all I'm saying is all we have to do is go 1, 2, 3. And that is it. We have to go 1, 2, and 3. When we look at that going into our second quarter, our 30s and 40s, we have to build that confidence, that consistent habits. We have to prioritize ourselves. We have to put on our oxygen mask first. We're accumulating wealth. We're building that guaranteed foundation. And we're also setting ourselves up for our future. And this is just the same as the decisions that we make in our relationships, our spirituality, our health. It's just prioritizing our financial growth, because finances is no different than any other practice. It's easily learned. And that's why you guys are here. You're here to learn how you can take back control. And so don't worry about the mistakes you've made up until this point. You still have lots of time ahead of you. We're only in the second quarter. So let's align our financial priorities correctly. Let's set ourselves up for a strong future by changing that one thing. Where does our surplus, our savings, go first? And I'm going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again, because this is the importance of repetition, of building habits. We don't learn from doing it one time. We learn from building up in our system, whatever those habits are, whether we're learning a martial art or whatever it is. And now we're at halftime. Now, like myself, I'm going to be in my 50s this year. And I talk to lots of 50-year-olds, lots of 60-year-olds, lots of 70-year-olds, right? I look at the 50s as being halftime. If we've been capitalizing since we were young, wow, we are ahead. We are already out there putting our money to work, making a spread on our money, doing what the banks are doing. If we're just starting in our 50s, we're most likely showing up because things haven't worked yet, and that's okay. It's not too late. We can just start building these habits now. And again, it's as simple of just taking back control of our money, of prioritizing paying ourselves first, of storing that money someplace where we can use it, where we can save it in one hand and spend it in the other. And this period is about making these strategic adjustments to ensure you're on track. Did you guys know this? What percentage of NFL players end up broke after retirement? What percent? It's a shocking percentage. So I'm going to give you a little context there. What do you guys think? How many NFL players end up broke by the end of their career, by the time they retire? 85, good guesses. 85%, 70%, it's right in the middle there. Almost exactly, 78%. And you might say, what? How's that possible? These guys are making millions, if not, the lowest paid player is making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, right? Millions of dollars a year. How's it possible they end up broke? Well, guess what? They're living around their friends. Their friends are living off of them. They're spent their whole life. I think it's even simpler than that. I think it's even simpler than stupid friends, Felix. I think they spend their whole lives being the best at one thing. Playing a sport and maybe a specific position. They learn the nutrition, the strength, the recovery, the footwork, all of the things, the tactics, all of the things to be great at that position. And most people, most players are trusting others. They're looking at number 3 over there, the neighbor that take care of their money. Who's going to take care of your money better than you? The neighbor? Would you guys give all of your money to your neighbors? I love my neighbors. They're super cool. If they ever see this, hello. But I'm not giving them all my money to manage. No, that's crazy. But that's what's happening with these NFL players. A lot of them are coming from financial backgrounds that weren't stable. And they're the first to make this kind of money in their family, right? And so they're trusting others to handle the finances. And they're rarely doing the best by them. And that's happening all over the world. I talked to a guy who was a financial advisor for physicians for 25 years. He's married to a physician. And he saw so much tragedy with physicians, with suicide, with taking their lives. And we had a long conversation about it. And his whole life right now is about helping the families navigate this, helping the kids become empowered, because we have new tools. And when we learn these things, we want to turn around. And this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm learning tools. Like, I thought I could just outwork the system. And as Einstein said, you have to what? Learn the rules of the game, and then you can play better than anyone else. So by the time we're in our 50s, we're halfway done with our lives. And it's time for us to really start reinforcing the family security, to build our legacy, and to make strategic adjustments. It's never too late to build new good habits. Just get curious, ask questions, really understand, what do you want? And then we get into our 60s. Now we're in the third quarter, right? The first half's behind us. We can't do anything about it. We can learn lessons, tell stories from it, but we're in the third quarter of our financial game. And the focus here is, how do we shift just protecting our wealth, right? That future self is a lot closer to our present self that we want, what we want for how we're going to retire or live out the rest of our life, and what kind of impact we're going to make. It starts becoming about impact. It starts becoming about future generations. And it really comes back to the principles I'm going to tie all of this together with at the end. It's going to ensure that our financial strategies are positioned for our future generations. It's solidifying our now. It's taking control of our money now. And this is another shocking statistic I found today. Do you know how much the NFL pension is annually for these guys? The ones at 78% are now broke. It's $43,000 a year annually. Now, compared to some people I talk to, that's a really good pension. Compared to others, it's not a very good pension. But either way, what's happening? These NFL players have stopped creating. Now they're at the point in their life where they think someone else should take care of them. I understand this. I understand that it's kind of our nature that we're like, I've been there, I've done it, I've accomplished all of these things, and now I want somebody to take care of me, of my family. But guess what? That's not what creators do. Creators keep creating. There is no finish line. It's an infinite game. Football is a finite game. I'm using the game of football to talk about our life and the lifespan and just breaking it down in quarters. So why do they need a $43,000 annual pension when they made such a high salary during their playing years? Well, because they still want somebody else. They're still looking for somebody else to take care of them. That is not creation. That is not capitalism. That is socialism. Give me. That's what our kids do when they're little. This is why it's up to us to teach them how to be value creators, wealth creators. So now we're in our 60s. It's not too late to start. We want to contribute a little bit more because our landing strip is a little bit less. I talked to a gentleman today, 61 years old, and he was like, wait a second, I heard it's times 10 my age. I'm like, no, after 60, it's times 15 because your game is much shorter at this point. It's not that much longer. Like, even if you live to the 121, as the actuaries put our life expectancy out to, it's much longer than it was 40, 50, 60 years ago. And now we're in our fourth quarter, right? That's it. Big facts. Big facts. There's not as much time, but as we get older, we start thinking about others. We've lived our life. We're grateful. This week, my wife and myself, we've had friends that are in their 50s pass away, 53 years old. 2 people this week. And my son said, hey, that's the stage of life when you're going to start losing more people. And I think about my dad and my mom in their 70s, and I think, wow, this is a reality for them. And I don't really start to stop to reflect. And so now in our fourth quarter, in our 70s, right? And this is where we want to build a guaranteed estate, where we want to simplify inheritance. We don't want things going to, going to attorneys and others to handle. We don't want that to go and get locked up somewhere where our family's not receiving it. No, we want a guaranteed estate. And it's not too late to still do the things that you want to do to still build this. Like I'm helping someone that's 76 years old right now. That's right on the edge. So if you're going back and watching this and saying, hey, when can I start? If you're anywhere from that beginning stage I said all the way to 76, you can still make this work as long as you're healthy. Remember, at the end of the day, we're helping you especially engineer life insurance. But your 70s represent that fourth quarter. If you've been practicing this diligently for decades, you'll be like Nelson Nash that has, I believe when he passed, he was, getting rid of like 49 different policies he had in the family. I know Brent Kessler in his 50s has 28. Right? Over time, we'll need more wealth warehouses. And as you guys see every week, it's a journey. It's a journey from turning our debts into assets, from parking and protecting lazy money, from financing all of our purchases, all of our cars we're going to buy, drive, or own, for protecting our kids and grandkids, like Angela was asking. Or it's that last stage is creating more wealth. And now we're doing what the wealthy are doing, which is what got us here in the first place. We ask, what are the wealthiest families doing? The Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Morgan Stanley's, Disney, right? So it's not too late to start. And then we go into overtime. Look at these two. I told my wife, so we're going to look like these two when we're in our 80s. The silver manes, the flowing locks. I'm almost there now, right? Well, look at all that silver. You're playing overtime. Right now, we don't care as much what other people think. We're having more fun. We realize that there is no rejection. I'm only getting to do this once. So we're in overtime. There's going to be advancement in healthcare. Our longevity will be extended as long as we're working on our mobility and our diet. We're going to be here longer than ever before in previous human history. And infinite banking can guarantee that financial legacy continues. They can have paintings like this couple right here on the wall of you. I'm gonna have Grandpa Sipple on the wall, or Pop Sipple. That's what I call my one grandfather. There I am sitting there. I am the one in the Sipple family, and it has changed the generational trajectory. And I know that's factual. And that's still part of this. So you're still able to give back, to leave a contribution, to, if you don't want to leave it to your family, leave it to someone else you love. And so those are some of the things. And no matter what your age, whether you're a newborn, a young adult, in your later years, there's always room to integrate a new process, a new habit, not a product, a new habit, a new way to control your money. Remember, we're teaching people how to fish. I don't want to fish for you guys. I get pretty bored fishing. I'm a little bit more patient. It's one of my words I'm working on this year. I don't know about you. How many of you here think you're patient people? Give me an I in the chat. Myself, I'd rate myself like a 40 out of 100 in patience. But that's a big improvement over like the 10 or 15 I would give myself like 2 years ago. And so now we've seen, like football, Derek says, nope, not patient. So let's review. I want to go through the 5 principles that'll parallel. Are you guys seeing how this all ties together? Our lifespan, the football game tonight. And let's review what R. Nelson Nash taught us about the 5 principles. People come to me all the time with all of these great questions about infinite banking. And my wife has to remind me, remember, you've had 2,500 plus of these conversations. You read about this, blog about this, talk about this, do webinars on this endlessly. Think about this, dream about this. Like if I could dream in another language, I'm dreaming in infinite banking. And that's weird, but it's true. And so I'm going to go through the 5 principles of infinite banking as taught by R. Nelson Nash. Number 1, think long term. R. Nelson was a forester. So he thought in terms of 100-year spans. That's what we want to think about. We want to live for today, but we want to think about our whole lifetime. We want to pay ourselves like the richest man in Babylon said, and capitalize our system fearlessly. We want to invest in ourselves first before we go buy the things we want. And then we want to have our interest buying those things. That's cash flowing. That's what Robert Kiyosaki talks about. We want to maintain integrity with our system. We built this new, incredible system. Don't cheat yourself. Don't steal the peas. Don't start a new business and don't think you have to pay for the merchandise. No, if you borrow capital from yourself, you have to pay yourself back, right? You guys understand that. And then we want to continuously learn. We want to rethink our thinking. And then the last principle is we don't want to borrow money from others, third-party lenders. We don't want to pay someone else interest to use their money, unless it's really cheap money. There's always exception to the rules. But we want to look at this. How can we control and capitalize our system so we're paying that interest back to our system and keeping all that money where? In our family. Are you guys following all of this? I think it's pretty simple. Simple as simple. So look at that picture. That's pretty amazing, right? So now we've won. We have a financial victory. We have practiced infinite banking. We've learned the 5 principles: thinking long-term, capitalizing our system, don't steal the peas, so have a plan to pay it back, don't borrow from third-party lenders, and number 5, rethink our thinking. I guarantee as you go through the application process to get approved, as some of you guys are doing now, as you get approved and start your process, you're still going to be learning. Some of you that have been practicing infinite banking, I talked to a woman who's been practicing for 3 years now, and she's still a little fuzzy on it, and that's okay. I just told her, hey, give yourself permission. You don't know this yet. But now you've learned about infinite banking. You've seen how it parallels the quarters in life. So whether you're not even in the game, 15 months old to, to a young adult, to being in your 20s and 30s, which is the first quarter, to being in the second quarter, which is your 40s, halftime, which some of us are in already at 50, third quarter in your 60s, fourth quarter in your 70s, and then 80 and beyond is just gravy. It's overtime. It is an infinite game, folks. And so if you guys want to learn more, have a conversation with me. If you've been around for a while, you can do that by just booking a call with me. And I'm going to pop in the chat. Anybody have any questions for me? Don't know how to manage. That is it. Don't know how to manage money. We're talking about the football players. And that's everybody. That's doctors. That's attorneys, because we're all groomed the same way. We're taught, hey, go get a checking account, get a bank account, put your money in savings. And who's making money in that situation? The banks, not us, right? Again, I'm super blessed every week to have all of you here. If there's no questions, come back next week. I'm going to have a special guest with me, someone I'm really excited to bring on. He's a founder of another company. For all of you fathers and mothers out there, don't miss next week. Don't miss next week. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a little off the cuff. It's going to be introducing something that's at the beginning of the beginning, but I guarantee bolting this on to what we're doing with infinite banking is going to, I love that. I love that, Derek. First, being a child. Second, raising a child. Halftime, making plans. Third, preparing to retire. Fourth, retirement. I love that. And I think, Ryan, you're welcome. So come next week. Founding Fathers, we're here really to inspire and educate who? Fathers and their families. I'm not excluding all you amazing moms, but I'm a dad, like Ryan Holiday, Daily Dad. So come every week. Come check this out. It's to help you avoid financial slavery. It's to have you live your legacy and also plan for that future and make a positive impact in your community. So again, today we've wrapped up, we've shown you factually how NFL players go through their careers, come out the other side, and often they're still broke in retirement, 78%, which is parallel to Americans for the most part. And why is this happening? Why do people not have better financial habits? Because we have not made the decision to take control of that. So I've shown you today how whether you start at 15 days old because someone was looking out for you while you were a child, or you're in your first quarter, which is the 20s and 30s, the second quarter, which is your 40s, your 50s at halftime, your 60s, you're in the third quarter, and then your 70s is when you're in the last quarter as far as football goes of your life for infinite banking, and how it's never too late to start by just changing that one thing. Where does your surplus money go first? So if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that like button and smash that bell so you're alerted to new content. Because every week I'm going to bring you new content related to infinite banking, related to helping you secure your family's financial future, take back control of your money, and leave a legacy while living your legacy simultaneously. So check out this video here to watch the next thing, and I look forward to seeing you in that next video. Be blessed. Until next time. See you in the next video.